Hello, I am Lena Spaho. I am the founder of Inside the Walls and Beyond Facebook page and a blogger for Inside the Walls. I have a master's degree in clinical and mental health counseling, and I am speaking out today and doing a video series about the impacts of incarceration on mental health. My guest today is Holly Kirkwood. Holly and I served time together at FPC Bryan. She was sentenced to a 30-month federal prison sentence for tax evasion. She self-surrendered to FPC Bryan in September of 2016. She was released from prison in July of 2018. She now works for a nonprofit organization and also the city of Houston. Holly, welcome to my show and thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me, Lynn.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to my listening audience and tell them a little bit about yourself that I didn't cover.
My name is Holly Kirkwood. I'm 48 years old. I did time for tax evasion, 1 count, and I served 1 year probation. It devastated me so bad that I basically had a nervous breakdown the way that it happened.
Okay, so what I think I'm already hearing you say is you had right away, just being indicted was an impact on your mental health.
Yes, due to me being a single mother, where I was the only provider for my family, I broke because I was so afraid. What was my family gonna do without me?
Right. And so you served time with me at the camp, and so we were in a very minimal security, even though I think there's some misconception that it's a camp cupcake or camp bed or something really, fun, like we're playing tennis and swimming, which is
Right.
far from the truth. So why don't you talk a little bit about maybe your experience with prison and how that impacted not only you, but if there's some things you want to tell my listening audience about how that experience impacted your family.
It was very, like I said before, it was very devastating. My son basically shut out the rest of the world. If you asked him about me, he had nothing to say to you. He was on the defensive, this and that. It just like traumatized my family. And when they indicted me the weekend after I buried my father. It was like they knew the breaking point and they knew they had me.
Do you think that was by design, maybe to put pressure on you to take a plea deal?
Yes, I do.
I'm really not surprised. I didn't know that about your case, but I'm not shocked about it at all. It seems like our injustice system is very egregious, and I think there's a lot of. I know one time I was served with something on Memorial Day weekend, so I'm fairly certain that was by design. So I think that prosecutors do play a lot of games. So what you're telling my listening audience and describing is, but way before you even set foot at the camp, you were already experiencing the mental anguish and anxiety and, like you said, even feeling like you were going to have a nervous breakdown because of just being indicted. And again, you were a professional person, you were a CPA, you had worked hard to get to where you were in life, went to college, did a lot of things to get yourself into a position to support your family. And I can imagine how devastating that was. What would you say that you still have any mental health type anxiety, depression, stress, anything left over? Or, since you've been out a few years, has that subsided?
Yes, I do have anxiety real bad. I remember coming home and driving on the highway for the first time. I had an anxiety attack. I had to pull over and I was on my way back to the halfway house. And I had to call in. The ambulance came out. They called in to let them know what was going on. And I made it back. I went straight to my bed, laid down. They said it was nothing that they could do. They asked me, was I taking medicine? I said, yes, but I'm not taking the right stuff, which I told them. So the next week, I went to the City of Houston reentry program, and I met a counselor by the name of Miss Major. She sent me over to Harris Health, the mental health place, got me access, got me set up under a real doctor, and they gave me what I needed to keep me calm.
So basically, the BOP, when you got out, they first of all released you without the tools you needed, because more than likely you wouldn't see anybody at Bryan, because I know they always say people don't need counseling
Right.
when you're within the prison. So you were already so bad suffering from anxiety that when you got out, you should have been on medicine prior to getting out to set you up for a better reentry situation.
I was on Prozac, but it was not the right milligram. And I needed something stronger for anxiety, which I kept telling them when I was there, well, this is all we give, Prozac. And they was only giving me 20 milligrams when I take a total of 60 milligrams a day to keep me. Yes.
And so what you were describing on the highway sounds kind of like a full-blown panic attack.
Yes. That's what it was.
You know, when I first got home, the first time I drove, I had to go to the dermatologist, and, you know, I've lived here a long time, so it's not like I was unfamiliar with where I was going, but I too, like you, I got lost. I got stressed. I felt like I didn't even know what button to push on the car. And, you know, so I remember I didn't go into a full-blown panic attack, but I did get very stressed out, and I started crying and called my husband. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's very overwhelming. I don't think people even realize, because I was only locked up 27 months total. So you and I both served a short sentence compared to many women that we were incarcerated with. And I don't think people really get what removing someone from society and placing them in an environment like we were in, where people mistreat you and don't talk to you in a proper manner. And you know, especially if you're a professional and not used to any of that. And it really messes with your mental health. Yes, I truly believe I have PTSD as well. What do you have you been diagnosed with that?
Yes, I have. I have severe PTSD. They have denied.
What are your triggers?
I can't be around a lot of people. I freeze up. I wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes I just stare at the ceiling.
Any dreams about prison or going back?
I dream like crazy dreams, you know, and I'm like, I never did this before. I told my doctor, I never did this before. And then another thing that really bothers me is sometimes I want to be alone. I don't want to be around anyone. And I can tell when I'm real depressed. I can sleep 2 days. And if no one calls and wakes me up, I'll continue to sleep. And I can tell when my depression is getting to me.
Yeah, it's a struggle some days not to go get in the bed. And I tell my husband this sometimes, like, I'm just having one of those days where I really just want to get in bed and not get up that day. You know, I just want to pull the covers up and just, like you said, sleep. And again, I think this all comes from the trauma that we experience behind those walls. I mean, you know, I remember when we were at Bryan together, I don't know what happened there the 2 years you were there prior to when I arrived, but I do know we didn't see a whole lot of violence. We saw some fights, but nothing major. But it's, you know, after you left, they started bringing in people that they were putting what was called management variables on, and bringing in higher level security people, but they were making them camp level because they wanted to get 300 more people head count. And things got really bad. And I think that's where a lot of that, and going to Oklahoma and being locked in the SHU and in solitary confinement there, I think that's where a lot of my mental health issues came from. So let me ask you this. Whenever you got out, when you were released to the halfway house and you had to go stay there for a month or however many weeks or whatever before you could move on to home,
Right.
Did they do anything to help you re-enter society? Were there any like programs for you? Did they help you find housing? Were they helping you get, if you needed IDs? What did they do, if anything? And because I know when you left Bryan, there was nothing. Like our reentry program there was minuscule, but we'd give people maybe a copy of the halfway house rules and
Right.
maybe a resume. So tell me about your reentry experience.
They didn't really help us with nothing. The first 10 days, you really didn't leave the halfway house. You didn't leave until you had orientation. And the orientation, you would basically meet with a probation officer. They kind of tell you what to expect and everything. My help really came from the City of Houston Reentry Program. They helped me with a lot. I joined Dress for Success. It's a program that helped women get clothes to wear back and forth to work for casual stuff. They helped me with a gold card. They helped me with everything that I needed to start back up. The halfway house did not help me with anything.
Right. So again, this highlights part of the problem, because a lot of places may not have a Houston Dress for Success like you have.
Right.
I'm not sure there's really one in my city. So,
Okay.
Someone that's getting out, say where I'm at in Arkansas, as opposed to you in a bigger city in Houston, that maybe
Mhm.
has some people stepping up to help, they are held back even more. But
Right.
even with you getting that type of help, what about finding somewhere to live and the necessities of life? How was that for you?
I I lived with family first,
Hmm.
and then once I was off probation, then I moved on, which now I live by myself. Um, it was kind of a big adjustment also living with someone when you're used to your own rules, and then they put restrictions on you. You can't do this, you can't do that. And then I couldn't have phone calls like late at night. The halfway house had a habit of calling in the middle of the night just to see if I was home.
Yeah.
And so that was another issue that I dealt with.
Right. So, did you find that being a felon prevented you from easily finding housing? Because I've been reached out recently by several ladies that are telling me in certain parts of Texas that they're unable to find anybody to rent to them due to their felony background.
No, I didn't have any problems. Because I went through the City of Houston reentry program. They
I see.
helped me with everything. But if anybody's in the Houston area, hey, they can email me, hit me up on Facebook or whatever, and I'll be more than happy to help you get some resources started and some stuff going. And I will also look into some other counties and see what they have, and I can get back with you, Lynn.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to send you the information on a certain person that I've been talking with about this issue, and
Okay.
see if you can maybe help them. And they're in Texas. They're not in your part of the state. However,
Okay.
their felony, is preventing them. And it may be the difference in a white collar versus a drug crime. That may be
Okay.
the difference. But
Okay.
that shouldn't be, because
Right.
everyone deserves a second chance. They've served their
Yes.
time, they deserve their second chance. And I
Yes.
think, that's one of the things I hope that we can bring attention to, is the fact that too many people are being denied
Right.
jobs and housing and things that they need to be able to survive legally out in the world. And they've served their time and they're continuing to be punished on a regular basis.
Right. Yes.
So, do you have any parting words of wisdom? What would you like to say as we, get down to the end of this video? What would you like to tell my listening audience?
I would tell the ladies that has been incarcerated, don't let your past define you. You still got a chance at a second chance in the future. Um, it's a lot of organizations out there, a lot of advocate groups that's willing to help you. Please lock on to one of them, and you should be okay.
Wow, okay. That was very positive, and I appreciate you telling my ladies that. And I am going to reach out to you about the person that I was talking about and see if you maybe have something you can do to, help them with finding some housing. I
Okay.
know they're getting very frustrated, and it's very, sad for me to see people struggling so hard, and they're working, doing everything they're supposed to do,
Right.
trying to make a new life. Holly, I
Right.
really appreciate you coming on. I'm so glad to see that you're out there. I see you on Facebook, and I know you're doing a lot of good things. And I look for good things in the future for you. I think I think I see you kind of starting to take an advocacy role, and I'm so happy to have you, getting into that, because I think you're going to be amazing and a great voice. So we will be talking again soon. And thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Thank you for having me, Lynn.
All right. Good night.